with none other than Mr. George Lynch, who's going to show me a thing or two about playing guitar.
Before ESP refused to stop making him new guitars with unnecessarily complicated body shapes. This one's just like a bunch of bones.
You know, with this sound, I don't know how clear it is, but it's a damn Lynch pedal. Okay, so real quietly, I'll just...
Wait, did he just complain about his own pedal? What? Yeah, it does. It sounds like shit. Tone's really bad, bro. Why is that? Is it your pedal? What? Every time I see George Lynch play guitar, I'm more amazed at his legend relative to actual George Lynch. Because, like, Dokken had a few okay songs, and they were pretty big relative to how good most of their music was. But George Lynch is always just one of those guys who was, like, so known for shred in the 80s and onward. And
all you have to do is go.
But there's something interesting about that, because you have to switch up your picking hand, because you get into this. You have to go from up and down to downstrokes. Is that right?
You know what?
When you break it down, it's trippy, right? Because you don't...
I don't know what I'm playing, man. Like, the other thing about George Lynch is he's one of the guys who at some point I read and determined that he didn't know anything about like music theory and stuff. He just kind of plays by ear, which you can tell when you actually watch him play then, because you can sort of see that he just like kind of hits the pentatonics and occasionally finds some diatonic stuff, but like a lot of it is just... But like it makes sense that he'd be like, oh, I don't know. I'm just like picking and whatever. And
think about it when you're writing.
Well, sometimes I'll just pull the pick out altogether and just palm the pick and just play fingerstyle, you know?
I thought he was going to do tapping, and I was going to be like, tapping is not fingerstyle, but then he actually played fingerstyle, and it was like, yeah, it sounds even worse with your really bad tone. Also, what does that have to do with the thing you were talking about? This already feels just like I don't think they're on coke, because they just don't. But it feels like a like they're just like. So when you're picking, what do you like not think about whether you're picking? It's like, well, I mean, sometimes I don't even use a pick, and then how am I gonna think about my picking? Because look, I can just like look at me. I'm so fucking good at guitar.
It's just, you never consciously think about it. Yeah. You just learn all these little techniques.
You never consciously think about it.
And palming the pick, your tap.
Unless you want to, like, get good at guitar. Never think about your technique.
You're doing
so
all
is it unusual for you to sit down and just show somebody a part like that and break it down?
It is.
Because I know when...
Even though I have a dojo and I do, you know, I do instructional DVDs and all these kinds of...
I'm a terrible teacher. I have no idea what I'm doing, and I can't possibly explain it to you. And yet people keep paying me. I just can't explain it. But look at all the bones on my guitar.
I have absolutely no
Never
musical knowledge as far as knowing anything. Yeah, I couldn't show you a major scale if you put a gun in my head.
Doesn't know how the music works.
Well, I mean, that's speaking of scales, and this is something I talked about with.
Then what the hell are we doing in the business?
You know
You've
what?
got a TV show. I'm doing records.
Good
I'm
fucking question, George.
A lot of people know those things, but they don't have the creative.
And
mind.
how are you so famous?
That's the difference. You got the creative mind. You know.
You know what I was always bummed about? I found out that Hendrix actually knew music theory.
Really?
No, he learned some, but like he couldn't write music, and he definitely started out intuitively. Like he definitely started out by ear. He probably learned as he went because he wanted to be a better fucking guitar player. He definitely was one of him and Randy Rhoads. There was some amount of comments. Like they both would have probably studied more and gone on to actually learn more about music. Randy Rhoads did, like he studied classical guitar, but he wanted to go back to school and learn more. And then Jimi Hendrix probably wanted to get more into, like he got invited to a really big jazz session with a bunch of top jazz guys, and he didn't go because he was afraid to like try to sit in when he didn't know all this stuff. But which kind of, I mean, it doesn't completely invalidate what Lynch is saying, but yeah, I don't think that's true. Oh, and he couldn't write down his ideas, so because Frank Zappa said that when asked about Jimi Hendrix, he's always like, too bad he couldn't write music. Could have wrote down some of that shit. That probably would have been a lot more useful than just kind of like not really knowing what you're doing.
Really?
But you know who doesn't?
No.
Alan Holdsworth.
Wrong. Okay, here's the thing about Alan Holdsworth. Alan Holdsworth, I'm pretty sure Alan Holdsworth is like way autistic. And the reason is there's a video, his main video, or the video where he breaks down his 10 favorite scales, which I think is from his main longer instructional video. He talks about how he didn't like learn music theory the standard way. What he did was he knows the note names, okay? So like he knows the letters and shit, but rather than like learn the traditional scales and music theory, he just like was like, okay, here's all the notes, and then he kind of just like made up his own, like he figured all the thing out on his own. It's the same, they're the same notes, and the scale names don't match entirely because he made them up, and he says that in the video. But like he calls, they're not that far off from the real thing, and they have the same scale degrees. He knows what the fucking numbers are. Wrong and wrong.
Really?
You believe that?
I don't believe
the
it,
total,
'cause it's
that's
not
an opposite,
true.
Yeah.
Wow.
The
That's
listen,
supposed to
my
mean,
guitar
yo.
teacher told me he may have been lying to me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
in
yeah,
any
yeah, yeah.
event-
No. So his guitar teacher told me that. Here's the thing. Having met a lot of guitar players, most of whom have had at least one guitar teacher, a lot of them have said things that were very not true that their guitar teacher told them. But anyway, your guitar teacher may not know what the fuck he's talking about. At the guitar store where I taught for a few years, the top guitar teacher was in a Sublime tribute band. And he kept having to give me students because they wanted to learn metal and shred stuff. And he just like ran out of shit he could teach them. And they were like, I would like to shred now. And he's like, you mean like a Sublime solo? And he's like, no.
I gotta switch my picking hand.
Yeah, because you're not good at alternate picking.
You know what I mean? It's just.
I think pretty much I stick to alternate picking.
Let's take a
you know,
look.
back and forth. So
I can't believe
No,
it.
you're
If
gonna
he had just not mentioned that it was like his signature pedal making him sound like shit, I wouldn't know. But the first thing he says is like, damn Lynch pedal. Anyway, here's me sounding like shit.
Downstrokes. You go to downstrokes.
I did?
Yeah. See what I'm
okay.
saying? Like you gotta switch up the. It's
Damn, I'm good.
Hey, you see how Lori, how Lynch.
That's not my takeaway
Yeah,
from
man.
that exchange.
So you were,
that's-
you know, people have asked me a lot, you know, can you sit down and show me some stuff? I can't do it. Like, I don't know how to explain
Not surprised.
what I'm doing.
Right.
And for instance, we were talking about scales. You said you couldn't show me a major scale if you're like dependent on it, neither could I. But what I do know and what I talked to Dave Mustaine about.
Why do you have a
was,
show?
You know, the old blues box. And when it comes to soloing, that
Dave
I'm
Navarro
pretty much
interviews guitar
locked into
players
that
who
box.
also cannot
Like,
explain
I
anything.
can
They both go,
stray
I don't know, man.
outside
I
of it,
just.
and I can move around and I can find some.
I don't know what I'm
different
doing.
spots. And a lot of
Why
times
did they pay
it's
me?
more musical and melodic. Okay, G.
Okay.
So we're doing
And we live in the box, right?
See, because now you're all over the place. I mean, you're in the box, but you're straying from it. Is that
So
something that's...
when I first started out, right, it's all about 1 3, 1 2, 1 2, 1 2, 1 3, 1 3, right?
So you know the pentatonic scale, you just don't know like why it is or what it is.
How I evolved out of that is thinking, okay, how do I be different? How do I create my own kind of thing, you know? And
Yeah.
so you find those in between notes, basically play between the dots.
A real good
And-
way to
and-
learn what the rules are so you can break them is called music theory. That's what. So the reason that people who don't know theory, the common misconception among people who don't know theory is that not knowing theory in some way gives you creative freedom because you're not constrained by the rules. But the problem is if you don't know what those rules are, you often end up following them anyway because you're like, oh, this sounds like it should end up here. It's like, yeah, that's called a resolution. And music theory was basically like, why does this sound like it should do this? And like, that's if you don't study any music theory, then you don't understand why it's dumb that you don't know any music theory. Because again, you're using it anyway. You're playing in the pentatonic scale. And then you're like, yeah, but sometimes I play notes that aren't the pentatonic scale. Yeah, well, so what? You made it the blues scale? You added a note? Oh, you like it's a different scale. They're all already a scale. There's no new scales. You can't make up a new scale without changing the tuning system.
So one of those notes would be the flatted fifth, which I emphasize quite a bit.
Which makes it the blues scale.
You know, so instead of a C on the G string, C sharp. You know, and that
now,
gives a little exotic.
You're literally now giving a bad theory lesson after you explain how you don't know any theory. Like, this is the problem. You end up you just know less theory and you understand it worse, but you still end up doing the theory on your pile of bones guitar.
That's blues.
Yeah.
You know, really, when you think about it.
It is. I mean,
Yes, that is literally blues, which you played with the blues scale. Wow, George. Wow.
you know, you've definitely made your mark as a guy who's all over the net.
I want to watch all the episodes of this show now. Actually, I think I want to react to this. If there's more of this show on YouTube.
You know,
Well,
back to the woodshed.
I'm surprised to hear that Yngwie is an influence. I mean,
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
so in terms of as a classical approach, or just the use of
The
In terms
speed,
of him
the accuracy,
fucking
you know,
shredding.
I mean,
What
all
the fuck are you talking? He's everybody's influenced by same fucking. Okay, there's like two kinds of people who are influenced by Yngwie. Ones who decide they need to become him, and everybody else. The vast majority of people influenced by Yngwie don't try to turn into Yngwie. You can tell because they don't wear pirate shirts. I'm surprised you're influenced by Yngwie because I haven't seen you do a single kick.
I can really see you're struggling with that one, George.
Oh, but I mean, compared to guys that do it clean and right,
I understand what
I'm
you're
an
saying,
old
but,
guy.
like,
He's
trying
right
to
though. Everything he
pretend
plays
to
is
be able
sloppy
to
as
do that.
fuck.
No, I mean, because that's like, you know, that was a school, because like techniques that are, you know, prevalent in, especially in metal.
I don't
such
know if
as,
many more important ones have come along
Well,
since.
you know, I wouldn't have
since
minded
then.
the sweeping technique. To
Maybe you
spin
missed one guy in there.
Hey,
you know,
Dave.
maybe Yngwie,
Yeah, you know what I mean?
I don't really seen you go there.
I got some
anyway.
videos for you.
See, I wanna
Pretty
be able
soon.
to.
I'll put out my sweep videos and then I'll be like, somebody send these to Dave Navarro. He wanted to learn to sweep.
And I'm sitting there.
That's
Literally, like, the feel thing is the oldest guitar cliche in the world is like, you either play fast or with feel. It's like, these are not remotely mutually exclusive. It just happens that there's a lot of shitty guitar players who either can't play fast or can't play with feel.
Once we start the interview, are you ready to go?
Yeah, because that's all stuff, secret that I don't want to talk about. Sweet,
This
thank
is
you so
awesome.
much.
George
Yeah.
has no
Thanks for being here.
secrets.
Let's, while we're going out, let's go over this Mr. Scary thing.
Yeah.
Let's play that riff and like together, but not the same at all.